See, to be frank, Rajamouli as a director, of course, has been there for quite a long time, nearly around 20 years or something. The first breakthrough happened with Magadira. Magadira is the first time I actually took notice of him in the context like a very special director. He's not just like one of the directors, you know. Of course, from there he kept on pushing the envelope with Iga, that Makhi, and then of course Bahubali and all this, So I would like to say there was a sudden shift in the way he started making films. I really don't know exactly why that happened, And because like I said, they were pretty much ordinary for the first 10-15 years of his thing. Magadira is a time when I put a lot of tweets on the film that it's going to change the face of Telugu cinema, all kinds of things. I said that, That is when I met him for the first time actually, properly, just sitting down and talking and things like that, And so from then on, obviously, Iga and all this happened. Whenever we meet, we talk only about films in the context, I remember he narrated the story of Bahubali to me at his home, and his home, you will be shocked. It is like a middle class apartment, The simplicity of his life is one more big shock to me. Now, I am not a big fan of people being simple and all that, but I think his dedication and his focus is so much on what he has to do in films, and his personal life is exact opposite of a spectacle. If he comes to Mumbai, he travels in a Innova car, absolutely there won't be anybody next to him, his assistants or whatever, he just goes solo. At the most, he and his family go to some ice cream. That is the biggest luxury I have heard in terms of Rajamouli's lifestyle. Bahubali's story narrated to me in his balcony, which is exactly, I think, 6 by 3, 8 by 3 at the most, in a cramped balcony he has at his home, and he narrated Bahubali's story, and he still lives in the same place. I remember before Bahubali 1 released around 4 days, a very big producer was telling me it's going to be a big disaster for the simple reason that there is not that much of money in revenue from the Telugu market. So if the maximum it will collect is 70 crore at that time, they went ahead and spent 150 crores. Then it's another matter, it went into thousands, the revenue. But the point is for him to, and he's an extremely responsible guy. It's not like, we keep hearing about stories of people who go massively over budget. He told the producers, but the producers has a leap of faith. So there were instances they took from Hollywood where you can create new benchmark of revenues if at all the product is good enough, which happened many times like Titanic or whatever. Yeah. So I think once he saw the kind of an acclaim and success, I think that is when he took this decision of keeping on pushing, making it bigger and better. I think that is the first time actually Bollywood woke up that you can make spectacles. See, in Bollywood we used to make the most expensive film will be some Kambaktish or some houseful, and we spend on stars, star fees and all that, and put in production values which are not even needed for that kind of a genre, Whereas in a Bahubali, you see the money spent in every frame. Probably the actors were paid the least in the entire exercise, and spending money on the making to give that visual experience, I think that's a very big risk he took. I am saying risk because it's never been tried before, So that is when I think they woke up. At the most, Bollywood used to think of remake rights as far as South films are concerned, and they were not even aware of maybe not exactly in Bahubali range, but some films doing very well in the so-called Hindi satellite dubbing market or whatever. But I think actually the making of a film, I think is the first time Bollywood woke up suddenly. In fact, once he asked me post when Bahubali is done so well in Japan, even he was surprised why people would see it there. So I said the same way why we probably, when we first saw a mechanized gold in early times, or maybe Enter the Dragon with the Chinese actor, I think they must have found it exotic more than anything else. If the same film had white faces or maybe Chinese looking guys, I am not sure it will have the same thing. I feel to see Indian actors in that space, they might have seen Indian film here once in a while here and there, but to see in that kind of a space, I think it hit them very hard. That's what I thought. So obviously now the advantage for Rajamouli is because he is from the south. His market is like quadrupling, or I don't know what, 5 times. Now there is a Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam and Hindi, and then other languages, whatever comes after that. This is an advantage which no other maker has, because he has got that following due to his films in everything. A Hindi film cannot repeat that. Even if you take Pathan, it is the biggest blockbuster in Hindi ever, but the numbers are nowhere near what Bahubali has done in Telugu, Tamil, Kannada and all that. So I think those kind of budgets and the recovery is there. Obviously, you can think like the sky to reach. Of course, Triple R has taken to another level internationally. See, I don't want to give credit to Telugu cinema. I think it solely belongs to Rajamouli, because Telugu makes 150 films a year around. So it's not that any of them remotely go where Rajamouli reached. So I would like to say that it's interesting to see if Rajamouli was born in Gujarat or with the same kind of a temperament, or some other Hindi state, he would have still done the same film. So I don't think the Telugu aspect is a big thing there. I would like to believe he's got, an enormous kind of a, I don't know, it's a quantum of both patience and passion. Passion is to really achieve what he dreamt of, what he thought of, and to put it into a film, and then to wait for no matter how long it takes. Most of the people, they want to get it done in 6 months or 1 year. Whatever stops them is probably other factors, not because of pushing the limits of what you can achieve in cinema. So having the patience and passion, I think, is fundamentally that. And then there is a kind of a kid in him who just loves mythology, who loves mythological characters and very Indian traditional stories, which is probably a very childhood trait. As a filmmaker, I think it is passion and patience. Yeah. What is unique about him is the spectacle he creates in terms, like I said, a visual experience and very hard mass emotion, which probably is relatable, taking themes from Mahabharata and Ramayana and those kind of things, and the moralistic aspect, the good and bad, the very sharp divide. So I think that is the reason it caters to so many sections of the audience. I think at the most, not Hindi film industry, Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, all film industries are just burning with jealousy and are praying at temples, mosques and churches for him to make a failure. That is exactly what the industry people are doing right now, because they are not able to take it. So learning is a very far cry. That is not going to happen. Yeah, because his inborn qualities, that's what he makes him. So just by seeing him or seeing his films, you can't become him. See, predominantly South India has a lot of mythological leaning, because we make a lot of mythological films. At least we used to make in the 60s and early 70s. And his father also being a writer, and I think that kind of a seed must have been there right from the beginning of his childhood. So Triple R being getting popular in the West, in the US and all that, apart from the awards, so many people tweeting about it, all big directors and all that, I think before that I am not sure they were even aware of Indian cinema or saw something. So one, I think, is exoticness, and second is because the kind of action which Rajamouli does, especially Triple R. I can still understand Bahubali because it is a period thing, it's set in those times and all that. So, Triple R is a strange time space of the British rule and blah blah. In that kind of a setting, to have this kind of action, I think is very, very unique. So, I think I mean it's like a graphic comic book for them. So, that is what I think. The way he mounts action and all that, I think that is the basic strength of an appeal. When you are kind of visually blown away sitting in the theatre on the big screen, you already have half of it, and then when he uses this very hardcore relatable emotion, it caters to the instinct. It doesn't ever become cerebral in his storytelling. See, the more grander visual you want to create, you need a lot of technological aid for that. Yeah. My guess is the film is going to do now. I think that is going to go beyond imagination, for the simple reason that post Triple R release, I think he spent a lot of time with the technicians of the latest visual effects things which he was studying. So, I have a feeling this is going to really be the BAP of all the films made. There is something called leap of faith. Leap of faith basically means if there are two buildings, and between them there is a huge drop. So, if the space between the buildings is 3 feet, people like us can jump and try to the other side. You make the space between them 4 feet, little you will think, 5 feet you are not sure, 6 feet there is no way he will try, But with every film he keeps on widening that space, So, constantly to have that leap of faith and go forward and is what I think it requires a lot of courage and conviction. If it does not work, that will be called foolish by everyone. If Bahubali did not work, everybody would have said as if we do not know, how can you bloody spend double of what the market maximum limit is, But he kept on pushing, and today a Telugu film, I would like to call it a Rajamouli film actually, can actually, coming from Telugu industry, can do 2000 crores above. That is something nobody would have dreamt 5 years back, something like that. I mean, see, Rajamouli is a person for me, like already described him in various ways. I think the guy is constantly striving, and no matter how successful he is right now as a speaker at the top of the world, at least in the context of India, but you do not see an iota of that reflecting in his body language, in his face, in the way he talks, and it's like he's like the upper limit of being down to earth, and that's what which makes people love him or around him, or work with him or talk to him or interact with him. Rajamouli is the only person who can say that and get away because he's been doing it. He is the only guy who says, he never talks about how big a hit the film will be. He will always maintain that fear, maybe this time it might not work, maybe I do not know, I am not sure. See, he has that constant fear of failing, not for himself, because he is very responsive even to whether the producers might lose money, or he might make the audience disappointed, or X or Y or Z. He always has that at the back of his mind, irrespective of how many times he proved himself, because in very initial stages, Bahubali 2, when it came out, there was certain negative criticism on that in the Telugu media, in the Telugu industry circles. I talked to him at that time on the phone, and he was shaken up. He thought maybe he made a mistake by making it in 2 parts, and somehow that is not resonating, and his worry and concern was more for the producers to anybody else involved, the so called buyers and distributors, and that he let them down, So, I think that kind of a selflessness aspect is extremely rare in any person, and that is what is so admirable about it. Rajamouli is the reason and will be the reason where the North had woken up to something called the South. it had a very condescending and a very kind of a I mean the attitude, हाँ चलो वो भी है, कभी कभी कुछ अच्छा बनाते हैं. In fact, I remember heroes, I don't name them, who probably refused to see Magadira because it was done by कोई South वाला बनाया वो film. That's one of the reasons why Magadira was not remade, because they didn't respond it as much as they heard about the film's massive success down south. They didn't care about it, you know. So I think I don't think many people have seen Iga. You know, that's a point. So I think 100% people waking up and suddenly pulling their pants up and to see what South cinema is all about, I think is what Rajamouli did. And Rajamouli gave courage to other people to try that, like whether it's Prashant Neel of KGF 2 to, they felt that okay, now see the greatness of someone opening the gates is that a lot of people can follow. It will have a long reaching effect much after even Rajamouli is gone. You know, because once you know that something like this can be accepted, there will be so many people trying to follow the footsteps of Rajamouli. So I think what that does is it poured in more money into the, more people are investing because he's proved that you go here also probably you can reach there. Now actors are taking it very seriously, stars. If once you do a triple R or a Bahubali, now you want to at least attempt to be in the films of that grade or that largeness, you know. So it changes the entire mindset of the industry in the context. So here if you look at it, there is a certain mystery. A Telugu film or a Kannada film dubbed in Hindi is working magic, and the Hindi film is not doing the same, including Pathan. It is nowhere reached the numbers of the biggest hits of here, whereas a Bahubali or a Triple R or a KGF 2, they quite 5 to 6 films where they reach the Hindi level of collections, which is not happening in reverse. So we trying to do the Marvel universe kind of a thing, I mean that is where I am not so sure about until it comes out.